What if that racing heart, those sleepless nights scanning every possible disaster, isn't broken? What if the elite already figured out how to weaponize exactly what you're medicating away? You've been carrying a loaded gun and calling it a disease. Why the most dangerous people never sleep well at night? Here's what they won't tell you in therapy: that constant buzz of worry, that inability to just let it go. It's not malfunction. It's a detection system so advanced that most people don't even know it exists. While everyone's selling you on inner peace and letting go, there's a tier of operators who've cracked the code. Anxiety isn't weakness. It's warfare-grade awareness. Let me hit you with something dark. In the intelligence community, there's an unofficial metric they track: stress tolerance under deception. Subjects with elevated baseline anxiety scored 68% higher in detecting lies during controlled experiments. Not because they're unstable, because their nervous systems are running parallel processing on everything. Every word, every pause, every micro-expression that normal people miss completely. The 33rd law of power talks about discovering each person's thumbscrew, but here's the layer nobody mentions. Anxious minds already do this automatically. You're the one who notices when someone's story changed slightly between Tuesday and Thursday, when their energy shifted for half a second. That's not overthinking. That's pattern recognition operating at machine speed. Wall Street has a secret. The traders making 8 figures aren't the calm ones. They're the ones who can't turn off the disaster scenarios. Every position they take, they've already mentally bankrupted themselves 15 different ways. They don't call it anxiety disorder. They call it risk modeling. Same nervous system, different branding. Think about survival probability. Who makes it out when things collapse? The relaxed guy going with the flow, or the tense one who's been mentally rehearsing every exit strategy for months? Evolution doesn't reward chill. It rewards hypervigilance. Your DNA is screaming data at you, and you're trying to yoga it into silence. Here's the brutal truth: you don't need to fix your anxiety. You need to learn its language. Every panic attack is an encrypted intelligence report. Every racing thought is a simulation running best case and worst case simultaneously. You've got a threat assessment system that runs 24/7, and you're treating it like a bug. What if every time your gut told you something was off, you were actually right and just talked yourself out of it? But there's something about high performers that completely contradicts what self-help sells you. How power players weaponize what you call weakness. Time to shatter an illusion. That image of the unshakable leader, totally present, breathing through chaos. Performance art. Because in the real rooms, where empires get built and destroyed, everyone's operating on the edge of a breakdown. The difference? They learn to channel the voltage before it fries them. There's a framework that circulates in certain strategy circles. Never made it to books. They call it controlled chaos protocol. The concept is savage. Deliberately trigger micro-anxiety states to force non-linear problem solving. When you're comfortable, you think in straight lines. When you're on the edge, your brain accesses shortcuts that logic normally blocks. ENSYS Rule 39. There is no such thing as coincidence. Your anxiety operates on the same principle. It doesn't buy official stories, doesn't accept convenient explanations, keeps digging, connecting, finding patterns others ignore. Exhausting? Absolutely. Also makes you nearly impossible to manipulate. Check this pattern. Walt Disney had documented anxiety attacks during every major project. Beethoven's obsessive revisions drove collaborators insane. Robert Oppenheimer barely slept during Manhattan Project, running endless disaster scenarios. I'm not romanticizing pathology. I'm showing you the hairline fracture between strategic genius and clinical anxiety. Law 3 says conceal your intentions. Your anxiety already does this naturally. You never show all your cards because you're always calculating 3 layers below the conversation. While others are present in the moment, you're playing temporal chess. Past, present, future, alternatives, all simultaneously. Here's the dirty secret. Society needs you calm because calm people are predictable. Predictable is controllable. That wellness program your company pushes, they want you to stop questioning. Stop noticing inconsistencies. Accept the narrative and produce. What if you flipped it? What if you took all that anxious energy and aimed it, not to calm down, to investigate, to prepare, to wargame? Every military strategy starts with someone obsessed with what could go wrong. They call it contingency planning. You call it spiraling. The real question is, how many bullets have you dodged simply because you couldn't stop thinking about trajectories? And now comes the part about turning mental torture into tactical advantage. What happens when you stop fighting the machine and read its output? Let's talk about what everyone pretends isn't happening. Those obsessive thought loops, that mental replay of the same scenario 40 times? That's not torture, that's data mining. Your brain is doing what quantum computers try to simulate, processing multiple realities simultaneously until hidden patterns emerge. Intelligence analysis has a concept called threat correlation. You take seemingly unconnected data points and search for patterns. Most people lack patience. You don't have a choice. Your mind already does this compulsively, connecting that weird client comment with the supplier's behavior change. And that obscure news article from 3 weeks ago. Law 14 warns, pose as a friend, work as a spy. Your anxiety already trained you. You never turn off. Always scanning, always archiving, always correlating. That mental file you maintain on everyone? That's not paranoia. That's a human behavior database that would take years to build consciously. Special operations use something called red teaming. You assume the adversary role and try to destroy your own plan. Find every flaw, every vulnerability, every blind spot. Guess who already does this naturally? You. Every time you present an idea, and immediately imagine 50 ways it fails. That's not self-sabotage. That's cognitive stress testing. Think about your last major decision. How many scenarios did you run? How many conversations did you simulate? How many variables did you consider? While others decide on impulse and call it intuition, you're running Monte Carlo simulations in your skull for free. The problem isn't the anxiety. It's that nobody taught you to read the reports it generates. That knot in your stomach before a meeting? Not irrational fear. It's your limbic system detecting incongruence in someone's body language. That feeling something's wrong without knowing why. Pattern recognition operating below conscious level. Here's the method. Start documenting. Every time anxiety spikes, note the context. In 3 months, you'll have a threat map of real dangers your conscious mind would ignore. That gut feeling about someone betraying you wasn't gut, was parallel processing of microsignals compiled over weeks. How different would your decisions be if you actually trusted the intelligence your anxiety produces instead of dismissing it as noise? Still think this is just in your head? Or are you starting to see the architecture? If this is rewiring how you see yourself, drop awake in the comments. Tell me, when was the last time your anxiety warned you about something that turned out to be true? Hit that like, subscribe because we're just scratching the surface. Why the truly powerful never fully relax, and neither should you. Here's the twist that breaks everything they sold you. Every coach, every guru, every self-help account preaches the same gospel. Find inner peace. Eliminate anxiety. Be zen. What if that's exactly what keeps you average? What if real power lives in never fully dropping your guard? There's a reason dictators sleep in different rooms every night. Why tech founders have 5 verification layers for every decision. Why military strategists are famous for chronic insomnia. They understood something fundamental. Comfort is the enemy of vigilance, and vigilance is the price of staying on top. The raw truth: nobody has the guts to say, you weren't designed to be calm. We were selected over millions of years to stay alert. That feeling, something could go wrong any moment, not defect. That's the original Homo sapiens operating system. The ones who relaxed became lunch. There's a critical difference between paralyzing anxiety and operational anxiety. First one freezes you. Second one moves you. The trick is directing the energy, not eliminating it. All that adrenaline waking you at EM? Premium fuel. Question is whether you'll waste it ruminating or use it planning. Law 28 says enter action with boldness. But here's the secret. Boldness doesn't come from blind courage. Comes from having simulated so many disaster scenarios that you already know how to react when they materialize. Your anxiety doesn't stop you from acting. It prepares you for all the ways action can fail. Let me give you a framework nobody teaches. I call it productive dissatisfaction protocol. Every morning, instead of trying to calm down, you do the opposite. List 3 things that could destroy you today. Then create countermeasures for each. Sounds morbid? It's exactly what every billion-dollar hedge fund does. They just call it risk analysis. That habit of checking everything 3 times? Verifying you locked the door? Reviewing emails before sending? That's not mild OC. That's human quality control. You're more reliable because you don't trust anything, including yourself. Here's the final irony. The most powerful people alive are the most anxious. They just learn to make it look like strategy. When you see a CEO talking about risk management, you're seeing someone who transcoded anxiety into acceptable corporate language. What would you do differently, starting now, if you knew your anxiety wasn't the problem, but the solution you've been waiting for? If you made it this far, and this landed, type activated below. I want to know, how would you use your anxiety differently starting today if you knew it's a tool, not a sentence? Like this, subscribe, hit that bell, and share this with someone who needs to stop fighting their own superpower. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes regarding psychology, strategy, and personal development. It does not replace professional mental health care. If you experience severe anxiety or diagnosed disorders, seek support from qualified professionals.